Hello and welcome. It's Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. Let's kick off with our financial fact of the day.
Okay, what do we got?
Get this. Only about 27% of adults in India actually have a formal retirement plan right now.
Wow, 27%. That's quite low, isn't it?
It really is. And for you listening, thinking about, the long term, well, it really highlights how vital planning for financial security is.
Absolutely. It's a wake-up call, really, about being proactive.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift to the markets. How did things close today around 3:30 p.m. IST?
Well, Nifty 50 finished at 24,167.25. That's up, but just slightly, 0.17%.
Okay, modest gains there.
Yeah.
But I heard there was more action elsewhere.
Oh, yes. If you're watching the broader market, the mid and small cap indices were really quite strong.
Tell me more.
So the Nifty Mid Cap 150, that closed at 20,032.30, up a solid 0.85%.
Pretty good jump.
And the Nifty Small Cap 250 wasn't far behind at all. It climbed 0.88% to finish at 15,878.05.
So real strength in those segments. What about the overall market index?
The Nifty Total Market Index also saw a decent lift, closing up 0.38% at 12,414.80.
Interesting. So that makes it, what, 6 days of gains now?
Exactly. Sixth consecutive day. And, this outperformance by the mid and small caps, it suggests that the rally might be broadening out a bit. More confidence across the board, perhaps.
Right, not just the big players moving the needle. Good sign. What about bonds and the rupee? Any quick updates there?
Yeah, just quick ones. The 10-year government bond yield ticked up just a tiny bit, now at 6.42%.
Okay.
And the rupee, well, it gained a little ground against the U.S. dollar. The exchange rate is sitting at 85.17, a marginal appreciation.
Small moves, but they paint part of the bigger economic picture, don't they?
They do. Yields can hint at interest rate expectations, and, well, a slightly stronger rupee never hurts importers.
Got it. Okay, so we have the numbers, but what's behind these numbers? What were the key news items driving the market today that, our listeners should really be aware of?
That's what we should dig into now. We've pulled together the main headlines from various platforms.
Great. Where do we start?
Let's begin with the RBI, the Reserve Bank of India. They brought in some new liquidity norms.
New liquidity norms. What does that mean in practice?
Well, the expected impact is pretty significant. We're talking about potentially freeing up around $35 billion within the banking system.
Whoa, $35 billion. That sounds like a lot. For, someone listening, what's the RBI actually trying to achieve here?
The main goals seem to be boosting credit growth, making it easier for businesses and individuals to borrow, and also easing any funding pressures the banks themselves might be facing.
Ah, okay. So more money flowing through the system, potentially stimulating the economy.
That's the idea. Easier credit availability could spur investment, maybe help businesses expand, and just generally support economic activity. Positive ripples, hopefully.
Makes sense. Okay, switching gears a bit, there was some news in the wealth management space. Something about UBS.
Yes, quite an interesting development. UBS is selling its Indian wealth management business.
Selling it off completely.
Well, yes and no. They're selling it to 361 WAM. That's the former IFL Wealth Management. The deal value is reported at $36 million.
Okay, $36 million.
But here's the interesting part. UBS isn't just walking away. They're also taking a 4.95% stake in 361 WAM.
Ah, so it's less of an exit and more like a strategic realignment, a partnership almost.
Exactly. It suggests UBS still sees huge potential in India's wealth market, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they feel partnering with a strong local player like 361 is the better way forward now.
And for 361, it boosts their scale, I imagine.
Precisely. Strengthens their position in a growing sector.
Interesting strategic play. Okay, moving on to international news. I saw something about India and Saudi Arabia. PM Modi made an announcement.
That's right. He spoke about joint projects, specifically in refineries and petrochemicals.
Okay. What's the significance there for us maybe thinking about energy or the broader economy?
Well, it points to strengthening energy cooperation between India and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Two major players. Deeper ties like this can help bolster India's energy security long term.
And maybe even play a role in stabilizing energy costs down the line.
Potentially, yes. It's about securing supply chains and building those strategic partnerships. Definitely something to watch.
Speaking of energy supplies, there's been a pretty big shift in where India is getting its oil from, hasn't there?
Yes, a very significant shift. OPEC's share of India's oil imports, it's actually fallen to a record low.
A record low. Why is that?
The main reason is India's increased buying of discounted crude oil from Russia.
Right, that's been in the news. And Russia is now the top supplier.
Yes, for the third year running now. It really shows how global energy flows are changing, driven by geopolitics and economic considerations.
Quite a change up. Okay, now, it wasn't all positive news today, was it? Indus Bank seemed to have a tough day.
That's correct. Their shares took a bit of a tumble, down nearly 4%.
Why the drop? What happened there? For listeners who might hold the stock or just follow the banking sector?
The trigger seems to be the announcement of a second forensic audit into the bank.
A second one. What's it about?
It relates to a reported discrepancy amounting to $6 billion in their interest income recognition.
6 billion rupees. Okay, that sounds serious. That would definitely worry investors.
Absolutely. It raises questions about, financial reporting accuracy and internal controls. It creates uncertainty, which markets don't like.
Yeah. And it's a reminder, isn't it, about doing your homework on investments?
Definitely highlights the need for due diligence, yes. Understanding potential risks is key.
Okay. Let's look at some happier news now on the corporate earnings front. Himadri Specialty Chemical.
Yes, they had a strong showing, reported a 35% rise in their Q4 profit, came in at 155 crore.
35% jump. Nice. How did the market react?
Very positively. The stock price surged by about 5% today. Shows how good numbers can really lift sentiment.
Absolutely. And Vadil Industries also had a good day.
A very good day. Their shares hit a new high, actually. They jumped 12%.
12%. Wow. What's driving that?
Seems to be a combination of things. Firstly, a positive resolution to some long-running issues at the promoter level.
Okay. Internal matters getting sorted.
Right. And secondly, just a generally positive outlook for their business. It's a good example of how company-specific news can really move a stock.
Definitely. So, okay, let's try and pull all this together. We've got the RBI move, mixed corporate news, international factors. What's the sort of overall market feeling right now?
Well, the upward trend in Indian equities is clearly holding. That sixth day of gains is proof.
And the drivers seem to be.
Two main things, I'd say. One, the RBI's liquidity measures are definitely seen as a positive, expected to help banks and potentially boost lending.
Okay, the liquidity injection.
And two, the corporate earnings season, while mixed in places, has had enough positive surprises, like Himadri, to keep investors interested. Plus, that strength in mid and small caps suggests broader confidence.
Right, the rally isn't just superficial.
Seems that way. And there's always a but, isn't there?
Usually. What's the caveat?
We still need to keep an eye on the global picture. Things like, trade discussions, geopolitical hotspots. They could still inject some volatility here.
So the domestic story looks pretty good, but external risks remain.
Exactly. So while the outlook seems positive for now, it's probably wise for investors, for you listening, to stay, cautious.
What does that mean in practical terms?
Well, it means staying informed, obviously, but also perhaps more importantly, thinking about diversification in your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, basically. It helps manage risk.
Sound advice, always. Okay, so quick summary then. Market's up for the sixth day, boosted by RBI action and some decent earnings, but stay watchful of global events.
That sums it up pretty well. A positive sentiment, but with a need for continued caution and a balanced approach.
Great. Now, if you want to keep getting these kinds of insights daily in a nice, concise format, please do subscribe to our FinWell Daily Brief.
And we'd also love for you to connect with SOS FinWell over on LinkedIn. Join the conversation, ask questions, share your thoughts.
Absolutely. We really enjoy hearing from you. Okay, let's wrap up with our quote of the day. This one's from the Oracle himself, Warren Buffett.
Always good ones from him.
He said, "Wide diversification is only required when investors do not understand what they are doing."
Makes you think, doesn't it? About the difference between thoughtful diversification and just spreading yourself too thin because you're unsure.
Exactly. Something for you to ponder as you think about your own investment strategy. Okay, that's all for this briefing. Until next time, stay financially well.